Hello everybody. Do you know what is happening in New York City? Do you know what is happening in New York City? And it's happening in Australia right now. And I don't know exactly what other countries. And all this plan started over 13 years ago. I was aware of the FEMA camps that are facilities to put in quarantine, I don't even know, people in case of pandemics. And I will read it to you. So let's go over here. Well, this is the website that I'm going to talk about this. The mission statement of this website says, Uniting New Yorkers is a collaboration of active groups and individuals fighting to protect our freedom, health, speech, religion, assembly, and more. Through legislative, social, and legal action, our mission is to unify and organize our great state's silent majority, and implement strategic actions to take back New York. Be a part of the movement to return the power to we the people. I'm going to interview the lawyer, the brave lawyer, the woman behind this. So, let's read it. We are fighting for you. These people are doing this all without any aim of making money. They are not making absolutely any money. They are doing it for the heck of freedom. Uniting NYC, New Yorkers, is proud to announce that we have teamed up with a group of New Yorkers legislators, and together we are suing Governor Hochul, DOH, Department of Health, Commissioner Bassett. Hello everybody. I will answer all your comments. Commissioner Bassett, the Department of Health, and the Public Health and Health Planning Council over the illegal forced isolation and quarantine regulation that I'm going to read right after that. We are proud to be standing together as petitioners with Senator George Borrello, Assemblyman Mike Lauer, and Assemblyman Chris Teig in our pursuit of justice. We have additional support from Assemblyman and Minority Pro Tempore Andrew Goodell, Assemblyman and Minority Leader William Berkeley, and Assemblyman Joseph Giglio, who have filed an amazing amicus brief in favor of our case. The legislators are true leaders. And now comes the problem. The New York governor took the liberty to write a regulation without consulting with the people, and says this. It's called Isolation and Quarantine Procedures. Allows the DOH, Department of Health, to pick and choose who they want to force to isolate and quarantine, without proof that the person possesses a health threat. For however long the DOH, Department of Health, wishes to force the quarantine, and at a location that the DOH deems appropriate, which can include a quarantine facility or detention center, also known as a concentration camp. They do not need to prove that you are actually sick. I will read it again. They don't need to prove that you are actually sick. They can just suspect that you might be harboring a communicable disease. They can just suspect. If they don't like you, they can send you to these concentration camps. There is no age restriction, so they can send your children, your babies. There is no age restriction, so they can force you or your child or your elderly parent, grandparent into isolation or quarantine for however long they want. It is the antithesis of what our country stands from. We are in the US. So we intend to stop them. You can read the full text of the regulation here, but we are going to go, I will show you a video that these people have done. It's a wonderful, simple video. I guess it's over here. Yes, I'm going to read because this is just has letters, so you don't have to force your eyes and read it. Did you know that the governor of New York and her Department of Health gave themselves the power to force you to quarantine in a facility of their choice for however long they deem appropriate? If they even just think that you may have a communicable disease or contagious, does that sound like the United States of America? Obviously not. Not even any other country. Good news. So we are fighting back. New Yorkers have had enough, so we are bringing a lawsuit against the governor and the Department of Health. Join us. Well, there is explanation of the lawsuit. Petitioners are fearless leaders. Senator George Borrello, the website georgeborrello.com. You have to have guts. Assemblyman Chris Tag for Assembly. Assemblyman Mike Lawler. And the United NYC, New Yorkers Unified. And this is the term that I'm going to have an interview. I'm going to have an interview with this attorney, this brave woman, warrior, this Monday in 2 days at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time for US and Canada. It's a live interview, so I am showing all this and another video of an interview with this woman, so you can ask the questions, any question you have. She's an amazing woman. Attorney Bobby Ann Flower Cox, coxlawyers.com. These are the people behind this, with amazing support from Attorney Thomas Marcel, Assemblyman Andrew Goodell, Assemblyman Joseph Giglio, Assemblyman William. These are really heroes, and nobody knows about this lawsuit against the government of the DOH. We ask for donations. Join us in this historical fight and still with your help. UnitedNYS.com lawsuit. Alright, now I'm going to show you another video. And this video is an interview that she did in the Mel K show. And I encourage you to listen again. First of all, I'm going to put the link of this video so you can share the link of this video. Here we go. In one channel, on the other channel, I am live streaming on 3 channels at the same time, and also on the on YouTube. Hi, Raul Nondal. Okay, let's go back. And now we are going to watch the other video. It's a very interesting interview. Gosh, how do I do this?
Here. Welcome back, Patriot Pals, to the Mel K Show. I am very Welcome back, Patriot Pals, to the Mel K Show. I am very excited. As you know, I'm in the dystopia communist country, formerly known as New York City. And I love this state, and I've watched what's happened to it. And so few people are fighting back, but one of the people that is fighting back and is working daily to save New York is Bobby Ann Cox, and she's joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing, Mel?
I'm doing good. I'm really excited about what you're doing, because I have multiple issues, obviously, with New York. But the biggest issue is I haven't really seen anyone fighting back. I always thought, during the COVID, we saw Cuomo come on stage and Gates and Schmidt, and they're reimagining New York. And we're all thinking, wait, I thought this was about a virus. And as time has gone on, it has proven more and more some kind of power play. And honestly, not many people in New York, you would think, everyone thinks we're so tough here, fought back or is fighting back, and you are. So tell me a little bit about when you started getting involved, and when you started the organization that you are getting some lawsuits out there and things we really need.
Okay, great. Yes. And thanks for having me on. It's really great to be here today. So I'm just outside New York City. I'm based in Westchester County. And so I'm feeling the dystopia as you are. But yeah, I mean, like 2 years ago when this all started in New York, March of 2020, with this whole we're going to lock down, I was like, whoa, wait a minute here. The government cannot tell us to stay in our houses for weeks on end. Like, it just, the hair on the back of my neck stood up, and I was like, this is not legal. It is not constitutional. So because I'm an attorney, and, people always reach out to their friends who are attorneys.
Right.
I had friends reaching out to me, family reaching out. I had clients reaching out and saying, what, do I have to stay home? Can I go to work? Do I have to shut my business? Like, no one knew what they could and couldn't do. And people were really upset, because it wasn't just like, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. It was months.
Right.
And people were not allowed to work, especially the small business owners were getting slammed.
Right.
And they're like, I can't pay my bills if they keep this up. Can I open my store? Am I going to get thrown in jail? So I was getting just bombarded with all these questions. And I felt so bad for so many people that were suffering through these lockdowns. And, I just said, okay, I'm going to just start making like videos and posting them online to tell people, like, this is constitutional. This is not. These are your rights. This is what you can do. This, so it just turned into people reaching out, asking me to come talk to a group. Freedom fighter groups started to pop up around New York. People were like, can you come talk to our group? And some were meeting in homes, some were meeting in halls, some were meeting outside because they weren't allowed to gather inside, So I was just going around basically giving speeches, helping people understand what was going on and what their rights were. And then I just, it was one thing after the next, with the Department of Health coming down with these ridiculous edicts. And I was like, guys, this is not legal. Like, the governor can't tell you to wear a mask on your face 24/7. Like, they can't, the way they were doing it was just all wrong. Everything was going backdoor around the New York State legislature. It was coming from either the governor or from the Department of Health or the Commissioner of Health or the Health Planning Council. And I was like, okay, wrong branch of government. Like, you have to go through the legislature. Like, that's who makes the laws.
Right.
So I said, I learned of this quarantine. It's called isolation and quarantine procedures. That's the name of this regulation. And when I read it, I was like, oh, no, absolutely not. There's no way this is legal. So I started to do a lot of research about it to see, where did it come from? Who promulgated this? What is their supposed justification for this? And I said, this is it. This is different than telling you to wear a mask on your face, telling you to stay 6 feet apart from somebody, telling you can't, go to church with more than 10 people.
Right.
It just went beyond all of these other COVID restrictions, which were, Governor Cuomo's 10 people per house of worship got struck down by the United States Supreme Court, right, in November of 2020. So I just saw all this happening and I was like, oh, there's no way. And for a while I was like, I guess we're going to move out of New York, like everybody's looking
same with us. Yeah.
Right. Everyone's like looking online for some place to move outside New York.
Nowhere to go at some point,
And I just said to myself, you know what? If we leave New York, it's going to eventually catch up with us. Like, things that happen in New York tend to spread around the country. Right. So you can run and maybe you're safe for a couple of years, but it's going to catch up. Right. And eventually there's going to be no place to run. And where are you going to move? What country are you going to go to? I mean, we're the freest country, quote unquote, the freest country in the world. Right. So we need to stay here and we need to fight. And so that's why I filed this lawsuit. I'm actually representing 3 New York State legislators. It's Senator George Borrello, Assemblyman Chris Tague, and Assemblyman Mike Lawler, together with a citizens group called Uniting New York State. Right. And we are suing the governor, the Department of Health, the Commissioner of Health, and the Health Planning Council, because this regulation it's got to be struck down. It's a law. I mean, they're calling it a regulation, but it's a law, and you can't make a law if you are an agency. The executive branch of government doesn't make laws. Right. That's got to come from the legislature. Yeah. So this is why we've got this lawsuit going. And so far, knock on wood, we've won each battle so far. But yeah, we've got oral arguments coming up this week. So
great.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing that you got there, because, the first thing is they've used our ignorance against us, and fear and panic and the media to really, it's bad in New York. I tell people all the time, I'm in Manhattan, so it's a little different where I am. At least you have like the outside. When you were locked down in Manhattan, it was like being in literally like a prison dorm. So I already know what's going on with that. Then they had the track and trace codes for months. And what's really scary is people just accept it. Right before they shut down the gyms, which was like, I remember saying to the guy, no, they had shut them down and then they reopened them, but you had to wear a mask. And I said to the guy, well, it's not really healthy to wear a mask and run on the treadmill. And he said, well, it's a law. I said, no, it's a mandate. He said, it's a law. It's a mandate. I mean, nobody even knew what was going on. People were just accepting it. Cuomo was acting like some kind of king. And we were really being, I thought, really sold out, because like you said, we have many friends who lost their businesses. 60%, they say, of New York City small businesses never came back. People weren't getting those PPP loans. And the truth is that nobody was fighting back at the time, except for a few brave people out there, but really it wasn't getting anywhere. And why I'm glad that you're doing this is because I don't believe that they're done. I have to tell you, I saw them taking away the mask in the, first on the airlines, but they're fighting that. And then they took away the mask in the city, but then they keep them on under 5-year-olds who have no chance. And then this week they come out of nowhere and say, because of cases, and we all know the PCR test doesn't work. So prove it? What cases? Now they're saying that we should be wearing masks inside again. And, some people might look at it. I'm glad that you're doing this now, because some people might be looking at this like, well, they dropped the mandates, or that. I fully believe that this is just a reprieve. So what are your thoughts on that? I'm seeing them creeping back in with all this stuff.
Absolutely. You're totally right. If this is not, if all of these COVID regulations that the Department of Health and the governor have put into place, if they're not struck down by a court, they are going to keep doing them because there's nobody else to stop them. Right. So once one branch of government, right, we've got three branches: executive, they're supposed to enforce the laws. Then you got the legislative, which is supposed to make the laws. And then you've got the judicial branch. When one of those takes the power of the other one,
right,
it's up to the third branch to put that other one back in place, right? Like it's separation of powers, and they're all supposed to be equal, and they're all supposed to have checks and balances on each other. So we need the judicial system to step in now and say to the executive branch, you can't do this. This is not permissible. And I think you are absolutely right. Hochul, Department of Health, Commissioner of Health, whoever is going to come in and say, oh, sorry, got to start wearing masks again.
They are.
You know,
I'm telling you, they are going to do that. They are not going to let go of this power unless somebody like you and your lawsuit, because this is how we have to do it. We got to do lawsuits, honestly, all over the country. There should be 3,000 of you out there in every state filing lawsuits against these people. And the other thing you said that's really interesting, and people need to understand, so they can go in, Biden or Hochul or whatever, and they can do whatever they want and pretend that it's constitutional and they can pass it. And until somebody files a lawsuit, it's going to stand. But what we've watched, if people are paying attention, which they're distracted, so they're not, we've seen one after another Biden executive order that was unconstitutional be knocked down. But it takes months. And honestly, coming from you, the government has unlimited money and plans. You're coming from a whole different side where they do this lawfare where they try to stretch it out. They don't want it to happen. When it finally gets to a judge that's willing to say this is unconstitutional, it could be a year or 2 years. And that whole time they're getting away with doing something totally against our Bill of Rights and our Constitution. So how does that work? Just for the people out there, isn't that the way that they can do it? And the only way to stop it is to file a lawsuit?
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. They're not listening to the citizens, right? People are reaching out to their representatives. They're writing letters, they're sending emails, they're making phone calls. But we've seen the executive branch is not listening. Right. So, and you're exactly right. Biden has been first he tried to make the CDC do an eviction moratorium, right? And I'm like, the CDC, and what are you doing? Of course, it took SCOTUS a while, but they finally ruled that was unconstitutional last summer. Then he tries through OSHA. Biden tries to do the 100 or more employees have to get vaccinated or wear a mask and test weekly and all that. And then that got struck down in January by the United States Supreme Court. So yeah, we're definitely seeing that the courts are pushing the executive branch back into their place. But it does take time. Now, the thing with my lawsuit against the quarantine, everyone's calling it the quarantine camp lawsuit, we did get expedited review, which is, we asked for it and the court granted it. So just so people understand what this regulation says, it allows the commissioner of health or whoever she appoints to pick and choose which New Yorkers they can force to either isolate in your home, or they can remove you from your home and force you to go to a detention center specifically for communicable diseases. They can decide how long you have to lock down or stay locked up. There's no time limit. There's no judicial review. They don't have to even prove that you're sick. They don't even have to prove that you have the disease. They just have to think maybe you were exposed, maybe you have a disease, and there's no age restriction. So they can come for you. They can come for your 10-year-old child. Right. They can come for your 85-year-old grandmother. Right. I mean, it's unbelievable. And they, their answer to my lawsuit, the attorney general, because that's who's representing the governor, their answer to my lawsuit is, well, we need the power. We need to be able to control New Yorkers completely in the event of an emergency. We just need to have it in our toolbox because this is how we stop the spread of diseases. Right.
Yeah. And we're watching. It would be ludicrous because I saw the bill popped out a long time ago, then it disappeared. And I know nothing disappears. They just stopped reporting on it. And somebody said, I'll rescind it, but that doesn't mean it was rescinded. And then I looked it up and it wasn't. So you really do need to get this shot down in court. But the other thing is, this would be really insane if we didn't see it happening in Shanghai and Australia and in Canada and other places. And it is a fact that they've built FEMA centers all over this country. And people don't even know that either. And they can't really say what they're for. And, it's hard to believe this also goes, Nazi Germany did the same thing in the early 30s. That was a big, because of typhus, that's how they got people into ghettos. They moved them once and then moved them again. I mean, Auschwitz says that it's a quarantine camp. So, this is really important that we do that. And because I'm seeing something else. I don't know if you saw the World Health Organization, Biden's there doing some kind of pandemic treaty where they would be in even that none of our governments would matter. So if we can't get lawsuits like yours in there on the books, you win, then that could be a real backstop for them too. Because I saw DeSantis came out today and he's like, I don't care what they sign in Davos. It's got nothing to do with America. No matter what Joe Biden says, because he can executive order that too. But again, that too would need a lawsuit to get shot down. And the one thing you brought up, which I think is really important, and I wanted you to expound on it, is so they can do these executive orders like Cuomo did, or like Hochul. Oh my God, she's not even elected. I thought she'd be better than Cuomo. I thought anyone would be, and it's the opposite. It's really crazy. She loves the power. But the problem is that when they pass one of these things, a lot of damage can be done in that time it takes to get to a judge. And that's where you and I probably saw a lot of people lose their businesses, and the one that you're talking about, and also the OSHA one. You know how many people quit their jobs and panicked, and the mental health cost? I mean, that's the craziest part about all of this is nobody really puts in that the time between they pass an unconstitutional executive order and the time you can get it overturned. What is like the average? How long? I'm glad this is expedited because we need that on the books. But how long does that typically take?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on the court. Are you in federal court? Are you in state court? Which state are you in? What kind of judge did you get?
Right.
There are so many factors that go into how fast can your case move along in the court system. The first thing that the Attorney General did when I filed my lawsuit was remove the case. I filed in New York State Supreme Court. They removed the case to federal court. And they tried to argue it was a federal case with federal law and federal claims. I didn't make one federal claim.
Yeah, why would it be federal when it was the state of New York doing it? That was their thing, that it was that was it?
They co-opted my, so I made an argument pursuant to the New York State Constitution, because the New York State Constitution is very similar to the federal Constitution. Right. So I made an argument under the New York State Constitution that they're violating substantive due process, and they turned it into a federal.
Oh my God! Just because of that?
Yeah, they turned it into a federal claim.
Well, because New York's captured by DC, so they want it. New York wants it in federal court, where maybe a red state would keep it in the state. So they use that one thing about that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Unbelievable.
And they removed it to federal court. And, I had to do motion practice to.
Yeah, you had to learn a whole bunch of new stuff, I assume.
To get back into state court. I actually had to bring a colleague in to help me.
Right.
In federal court, I'm admitted in the Southern District.
Right.
In New York State in federal court, and they removed it to the Western District. And you have to be admitted in that specific federal court. So I had to get a colleague to come in and help me, because it would have taken so much time for me to get admitted to the Western District and then fight them. Thankfully, we only lost a week because we argued that the federal judge sent it right back. He was like,
oh, good. Because that's ridiculous.
Yeah, he sent it right back.
New York is so messed up. Let me ask you, listen, you're a lawyer. There's something really wrong with our judges here. I cannot believe that there's not more judges that are just, and I'm not just talking about this case because this is huge, but across the board, it's as if there is no oversight. Is there any oversight for judges out there? I keep seeing things with judges, and I think, who judges the judges?
Right. So in federal court, they're actually appointed. So any federal court, whether it's the district court level, which is the trial court, or the appeals, or obviously the United States Supreme Court, all the federal judges are appointed. So the people don't have a say in who sits, in a federal court. In New York State, our state judges, for the most part, they're elected.
Oh, good.
So we do have a say in that process, right? So, they're elected for long terms, like a New York State Supreme Court judge in New York would be like, 10-year term or something. So they are elected for a long time, but at least the people do have a voice and trying to decide who's going to be ruling and adjudicating our laws. But then when you get higher up, like the Court of Appeals and stuff, like those are appointed. But So it's a mix. Some are appointed, some are elected. Like your city court level or your town judges, like those are all elected for the most part in New York State. But it's so hard to say. A lot of it does depend on the judge that you get overseeing your case, as to which way they're going to rule. I mean, you can appeal. So after we have oral arguments this week, if the judge does not rule in our favor, we'll appeal it to the next level. If he does rule in our favor, I'm sure that the AG is going to appeal.
Right. Yeah.
To try and get the
who cares what we the people want?
I know. That's the biggest problem, right? Is that we the people. So this, as you mentioned before, this regulation was a proposed law. It was a bill, a very, very similar bill that was proposed in the New York State Assembly for 7 years. Okay. The assemblyman started in 2015 trying to get this bill to have some support and get it passed. For 7 years, it failed. It not only failed, not one other New York State legislator, either in the Assembly or in the Senate, would back the bill. So for 7 years, this one assemblyman was the only guy.
What was the bill about then, though? I mean, why was he proposing quarantine camp? And now that we're finding out about all these labs that have been around a long time and, Obama and other people, Biden's kid involved in them, maybe he knew something. But why was he proposing that 7 years ago? Do you have any idea? I thought that was totally bizarre when I saw that.
Yeah, his excuse was Ebola.
So he was in on it. Okay.
There was something about, Ebola, whatever. But I mean,
wow.
Do you know how rare it is for a bill in the New York State legislature? And I'm getting this not from me. I'm getting this from actual New York State assemblymen, like leaders within something the Republican party in the assembly. It's very rare that a bill would get no support at all for 7 years, right? To the point where it never was on the agenda. It never was brought to a vote. The head of the committee, where it was introduced, which was the Health Committee in the Assembly, he publicly denounced the bill. He's like, we are not putting this on the agenda. We are not voting on this. Perry, the assemblyman that proposed it, ultimately pulled it. He withdrew it in December 2021. And lo and behold, we have almost the same, it's the same sum and substance. It's not exactly the same wording, but it's the same idea. And now we have it as a regulation pushed through the Department of Health with the governor. And in fact, I even hate to say this, but the bill that Perry proposed for 7 years was a little better than this regulation. At least it had a little bit of due process built into it, right? Like this regulation that the Department of Health has it shocks the conscience. It has no due process protections for the people. I mean, they literally, and they give themselves the power to use local law enforcement to enforce their orders. So you could literally get a knock on the door tonight from the police that say, we have an order here from the Department of Health. You have to come with us because they think maybe you walked by somebody that had, tuberculosis and now
or monkeypox.
Yeah. They have a whole list of communicable diseases that are
be anything. Now, let me ask you this, though. I'm so glad you're coming on because I got to tell you, most people think that bill, that Perry bill was rescinded or whatever. And I didn't know until I got your information and looked it up that they snuck in this on the side. So because this is what our propaganda media and our machine is doing right now, from the WHO all the way down to local HHS, CDC, FDA. They're saying, look over here while they're changing it. Most people think that because it left the news cycle and a couple people called it out and he publicly rescinded it, that it was gone. And when I first looked, I thought, I think that's gone. And then I looked it up and I said, I cannot believe that not only is it not gone, but it looks purposefully kind of hidden so that so the people that found the first one don't even know it exists.
It's true.
It's amazing.
True. She and Hochul keeps declaring every 30 days, she's declaring a new state of emergency. I know. Because the law says she can only declare for 30 days. So May 15th, just, last week, she declares another COVID state of emergency.
I couldn't believe it.
Where is the state of emergency you have to prove that there's actually an emergency. You can't just keep people in a constant state of chaos and fear, right? So, that's part of our lawsuit. But yeah, she's been declaring states of emergency for months, like 8 months in a row now, something crazy.
Yeah.
And, she's just doing it to continue her power.
I know.
And to allow the Department of Health to keep issuing the emergency regulations. And they're trying to make this quarantine camp regulation permanent. Because now they've got it issued.
Thank God you guys found it. I'm telling you, I'm sure I'm not alone, because other people reported on it other than me, that thought it was gone. And then when you look, you're like, oh my. So it's so much deception on such you need to have lawyers like you out there willing to go there and put it on. It's got to be on the books. Just them saying they're taking away the mandate of the track and trace app, or they're taking away the mandate of the masks. I don't believe these people have our best interest at all. And it appears to me that they're working for even a bigger, a global situation where we lose if we don't fight back like you are. And can you tell my audience where they can find you, how they can help you, and how they can get involved? Because listen, if we don't find more, we got to file as many lawsuits as humanly possible, or these people are never going to stop. We got to get things on the books like you guys are doing. And I really appreciate it being here in New York, because like I said, it's been, it seems like so many people you would think would have fought back, didn't. And now people are getting really lax and they think it's over. And I know it's not. So can you tell everyone how they can help you?
Yeah, absolutely. People can get involved. The biggest thing we need to do is spread the word.
Great.
Because this is obviously mainstream media won't cover this, right? The governor's keeping it hush hush. The Department of Health is, sweeping it under the rug. Oh, they're saying, oh, it's no big deal. So we need people to talk about it. We need people to post it on their social media. They need to take, the link to this interview and just push it out everywhere on social media, send emails and text messages to your friends or, freedom groups that you're involved with. People need to know what's going on, because a lot of people don't know this regulation is on the books and that we're fighting it. We're trying to shut it down. If we don't shut this down, if we do not get the court to ultimately rule in our favor and deem this an unconstitutional regulation, it's going to open the floodgates. Because it's going to signal not just to the Department of Health, but to any agency, hey, you can make any regulation you want. It can contradict the Constitution. It can contradict New York state law. Like this regulation, we already have law passed by the legislature. For decades, we've had a law. It's section 2120 of the public health law. It says how you remove someone from society if they have a disease and they have to actually be a threat to other people, right? There are like 10 steps they have to go through before you can actually remove someone from society. They got to prove you're sick. You have to have an investigation done. They have to have evidence against you. You have to go before a magistrate. There are all these different steps to protect the person, right?
Yeah.
This regulation completely contradicts that actual law that we have on the books in New York. So what are you telling an agency if you let this regulation stand? You're telling them, you guys can make whatever rules you want. It can contradict any law we have on the books. It makes the legislature not equal anymore with the executive branch and the judicial branch, right?
And the legislature works for us. It's supposed to be by the people, for the people. We're the government. They represent us. And this has all gotten lost in the mix. And what's crazy that you're saying this, I just thought of it, that Hochul also said that racism was a health emergency in New York. I mean, what else? And then we have the disinformation police out there. It's like, it's a very slippery slope. So you're a real hero out there, because I'll tell you, there's not enough people. We need a lot more lawyers that are willing to go get things adjudicated and on the books, so this never happens again. And do you have a website where people can find you that want to get involved or want to donate or want to find out how to do it in their state or what they should be looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. So the citizens group set up a webpage. It's called unitingnys.com/lawsuit.
Great.
And people can go there. There's, the actual link to the regulation is there, so you can read it for yourself.
Good.
There are a couple videos on there about the lawsuit and the regulation. Some photos from we did a press conference with the New York State legislators who were supporting the case. And actually, there was an amicus brief filed a couple of weeks ago by 3 New York State assemblymen who are not plaintiffs in the lawsuit, but they're supporting us.
Oh, good.
Assemblyman Andy Goodell and Assemblyman Will Barkley and Assemblyman Joe Giglio. So they jumped in and they filed this brief to support us. And, the Attorney General opposed the brief and tried to keep it out of the court. And we had to do motion practice to fight to get the brief into the court. I mean,
listen, the battle you're fighting is so hard, especially in New York, especially with our Attorney General and Hochul and all they're lawless. It's not about we the people. They totally do not care about we the people. And thank God people like you are out there doing that. And these assemblymen, thank God for them, because we're watching as we just saw with the mayor race. Now we have the governor's race coming up and all this stuff. And it's again, Republicans or conservatives, or they don't get any press in New York. It's like they don't exist and their voices don't matter here. And it's completely shut down. And it shouldn't be about Republican or Democrat or whatever. It should be about right and wrong and constitutional and unconstitutional. So I'll put all your links below. Please keep in touch. When are you going to court?
Oral arguments are Friday.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Good luck. I'll be praying for you, and I'm sure everyone else will. And come back and update us. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be really supportive. I have a lot of New Yorkers out there that will be very grateful. And it's good for people to know about this. Go to the website, see how you can get involved, but also look at the regulation. And if you're in a different state, please look and make sure that you don't have the same thing lurking in your regulation somewhere. Because if it's happening here, like she said, believe me, it's a bigger plan. New York and California, you look at them and you think it won't happen here. It probably will. So let's hope that you not only succeed, but that other people follow your lead, and we never let this happen to us again. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on, Mel.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
I hope you heard that. And please share. I want to ask you, did any one of you knew about this regulation in New York? And as they said, if it happened in New York, it's going to happen everywhere in the US. In your little town, here in LA, in California, everywhere. So this is very important. I mean, the mandates, fighting against the mandates is extremely important, but what about this? This is really serious. It's freaking serious. So my friends, share. And the other very important thing, you need to sign up for our email list. I will put the link because there is a lot of information that we send you by email. And the only thing that we do is to send you information. Nothing else. Absolutely nothing else. I'm going to put the link for you to sign up for our email list. This is on one. And let me see the other one. This is one. And remember, the email is going to be the only way to communicate, because they can put this platform down at absolutely any time. So I'm going to interview Bobby Ann Cox, this brave woman and attorney, this Monday in 2 days at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time in the US and Canada. For all these people that says that in Canada there are all sheep and cowards, this is not true. There is a video with this lawyer, Bobby Ann Cox, with the Dr. Alexander, the doctor locked them all up. He was at the Freedom's Convoy in Canada, and he said that on one Saturday there were about 3 million people in Canada. So you Canadians are not a sheep. You are very brave. and the whole world knows that. The problem is this, that evil, the evil in the spiritual realms and here on the physical realms, they have nothing else to do than do evil. And you and me, we are minding our own business and trying to do good. So, but they are working 24/7 to do evil. This is why there is this apparently winning of these evil people. No, for all these Canadians, the 2 or 3 Canadians that say today, we are here in Canada, we are sheep. No, you are not. You are very brave. What you did in Canada, nobody else. Actually, the Australians did it. New Zealand did it. In the UK, in Germany, in France, they have been going to the street every single weekend. The ones who are not showing up on the street is still the US and in South America. So, we need to keep fighting. I don't want to meet any of you in this concentration camp. God bless us all. Okay, let's see. I'm going to put this. I see you on Monday again at 5:30. I'm going to interview this lady. Have your questions ready because I'm going to read everything, and this amazing, courageous, strong woman and lawyer will answer everything. I see you on Monday. God bless us all. Thank you, Goddess, if you're here. Thank you so much. I'm going to put my video. Thank you so much. Please share with your friends. I hope to meet you someday. We can talk, Goddess. I just finished the other two. Gosh, I don't even know how to spell this. Thank you, Goddess. Wow, they know how to spell it. God bless us all. Bye bye.